Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to get back on the Yamaha 250MX project. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get the bushings cut for the swing arm. Remember we'd got them made. We've got the bushing material Loctited in, and we've just basically this is the way it is going to be. It just needs to be cut off at the proper distance, and hopefully I can get that done. We're gonna start there. We're gonna mock up the shocks, try to get a location for where the bend goes in order to mount the shocks in. That'll be the first piece that comes across and then kind of down, and then we'll have some supports that come in on that, and one coming from the bottom. But all in good time. But anyhow, we're gonna try to get that way and maybe get one of those bent. We'll see. So let me get you overhead here and we'll get started on this thing. Okay, I've got this mounted here on the bench, and it's just kind of a close thing. I'm hoping I'm pretty close, and I just lay a straight edge across here, and let me get that zeroed out. I think I've got them pretty close to the same. I got about 0.258 on that one. And 259 on that one. So I think I'm going to try to make them at about 260, and that way I'll have a little bit of squeeze factor, hopefully, and they'll fit in there good and tight. So let me get this mounted in the lathe, and we'll see if we can get them cut off. Well, I guess I'm getting the cart before the horse a little bit. I've got to get a 16 millimeter hole through this inner tubing here, and I have also got to get that 16 millimeter hole in the bushing before we cut it off. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up for that. We'll step this up first. I'll go to 9/16, and then we'll try the 16 millimeter. Just kind of step it up a little as we go. Okay, I ran into another little difficult. This 16 millimeter drill bit that I got, it's got a 5/8 shank on it, or probably 16 millimeter, and that won't go into my chuck. So I just broke the boring bar out, and we're cleaning it up that way, and we'll have to do the same on the spacers. So that's a nice fit. Would have been a lot easier with a right drill bit though. Okay, now we'll start drilling the hole in the spacer. I'll start that with a starter bit, and then we'll go on up. I think it's 5/8 that I go to, and then I bore the rest. Just realized you couldn't see much where you were at. Sorry for the wiggly camera there. I've got a new mount and it's not very rigid. Okay, let me get a bigger drill bit now. That bronze is kind of sticky. Cuts real easy though, so it likes to grab. So we just need a couple of thousandths. So we just can't quite get in there yet, but it's almost there. Well, the bolt's at 0.629, and we're at about 3 thousandths below that right now. So we'll just take the boring bar and get it as close to not just barely cutting. That's the first trip may not even cut anything. We'll see here. Okay, I'm going to try it right there first. It's cutting a little bit. There's just not that much difference between 16 millimeter and 5/8. Okay, that should be a good fit, I hope. Yeah, nice and snug. Just what I want. Okay, let me deburr the face of that. And probably need to go ahead and file that edge. Make it a little easier to get it installed, hopefully. And now we'll set up to cut our 2 bushings. Okay, I just touched off on the very end here, and my blade measures 0.087, so I add that to my 0.260 for my part size, and we're at 0.347. Yeah, 0.347. So I'll just go up to my DRO. Three, 4, 7. That should be good. So we'll lock her down and do her cut. That DOM tubing sure does cut nice. But that being said, still got to keep it well lubed. Okay, before we get too far in, I want to chamfer that edge. Kind of hard to do after it's cut off. We're into the bronze now. No oil really needed on that. But you gotta still kind of take it easy because it's grabby just like it is with the drill bits. I don't think it's as bad as copper, but it's pretty bad. There we go. There's one side. Okay, here's both of them now. Let it cool off a little bit. Pretty close. 2000s. Okay, so we've got our one-piece rod here, and oh my goodness, I've got to, I don't know why I thought those needed to be the same size. I have got to cut those down to the size of the tube. What was I thinking? They fit the axle so nice. Okay, back to the lathe. Okay, it's a good thing that's a good steel backing. That this would be pretty sketchy without that, but it seems to be taking it okay. Just take a little at a time. That DOM tubing's good and rigid. I don't know what I was thinking. It's not the first time this week. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. That makes up our extra. And then we can get the shaft through them. Should be good. Okay guys, I kind of knew when I put this stabilizer in here that it was going to be in my way, so I'm going to have to build some new ones, and I'm sure they'll be in my way too. But we've got to be able to fit the swing arm and try to hold this up at the same time until we get some support in there. What I've done here is I've just kind of made a L on the end here to go into the brake receiver, and I'm just that'll just kind of push against the side there, and then up here we're going to go ahead and fasten to the old shock area. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And let's see if we've got a fit here. Well, kind of wished I'd got the bolt. Oh, it's here. It's here. Kind of on the wrong side of it, but there we go. I think we got a good fit on that. I don't feel any side-to-side motion at all. Okay guys, I've got the use of a RM250 frame, and it's going to help a lot by trying to give me the basically the geometry from the original frame. Of course, this is going to be different because it's, you know, things are different and it was never designed for that. But this, I don't think it's going to be ill handling. I think it'll be better than it was. One thing I want to show you that I'm trying to do is, let's see if I can get you down here where you can see it and me still hold everything. Let me get you a little closer. Okay, now these are all pretty crude measurements, but I think it's good enough for what we need to do. When I was first talking about this, I was talking about maybe changing the location of the hole, and I had one gentleman remind me that if I did that, the chain would probably not work because it would be in a different location, and he's right. But I've got this straight edge along the theoretical bottom of the frame at the pretty much the same angle. And well, oh, there it is. Okay. And what I think you can see there, we're at about 5 3/16, close to it. It's kind of between the 1/8 and the 3/16, so pretty close. Now we're going to go over and take a look at the Suzuki. Okay, again I've got the straight edge actually laying right here on the tabletop. And again, theoretical bottom of the frame. And you're just almost identical on your location as far as the swing arm pivot goes. Just almost identical. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is to try to get a location of this spring or this shock in relationship to the swing arm. And I've done that with this angle finder, and I'm at about 68, 69 degrees there. Yeah, I'm just I'm just following the spring angle, or it on the spring here, and keeping it flat with the swing arm. So that's the same that I want to get for the Yamaha. So when I'm setting up my spring pocket, that's what I need to try to achieve. Now, I had some people talking about geometry and stuff with this Yamaha frame. Let me get you off the stand here a minute. Okay, I had some of them worried about me changing the geometry, and that's just not what happens here. All I took out was the support for the seat. That's all I took out. The geometry would have to come from the main frame and the steering head. And the steering head on both of these frames are very close too. I will go through that later on, but there's just, we're not going to change anything like that. And granted, your angles and everything that you're putting in with the swing arm is going to change that geometry some, no doubt about it. But as far as the Yamaha frame goes, the basic frame and the steering head, which basically carries your geometry, is unchanged at this point. Once we put the swing arm in, things will change some, but as long as we keep the rear and the front in the same relationship, otherwise we can't do what we're doing to the back and not change the forks, because it's going to be a nose down attitude if we do. So in changing the forks, we can regain that, and the only difference will be a slight difference in the steering head and the height. I don't think there'll be anything ill handling about it. I've done some things like this in the past, and it never makes anything unrideable. I've never seen that happen, not with what I've messed around with. But I'm sure that you could do it that way. Anyhow, those are the two things that I'm looking at right now. I've got a pretty good, as far as the swing arm pivot goes, almost identical location, and I'm going to shoot for the same angle here between the shock and the swing arm. Then we'll pull the springs at some point and make sure that the travel up into here, make sure that it's got room for that travel. But as of right now, we're just going to try to get some stuff cut and placed in here, tacked in. I'm not going to weld everything until I get it all in and get the forks and everything changed, because you want to be able to change things if you have to. But I think that by getting the support in, I did go ahead and cut these tubes out. I don't know whether you noticed that or not, but those are we're basically going to do the same thing. We're going to come here and give us that place to put our top shock support, and then we'll come down to weld into this frame. And that's just a little bit different than the other one. See, the Suzuki has got a double tube here. Well, the other one does too, but the double tube starts way up here at the tube, or at the underneath. And this one here, this piece comes into there, and this one comes in short. So this tube here will be bent to get to our mount and then come down, and then we'll put a support in here this way and probably one here. It probably doesn't need it, it doesn't need it here, but perhaps with what we're doing, we may need to do that. And we'll gusset those too. We'll see as we go along. This is, it's just a play as you go thing. So let's get to it. Okay guys, I think I'm kind of where I think I want to be. And you know, I mentioned something a while ago about the angle at 68 or 69 degrees. I was really reading this wrong and using it wrong. I found some data that says that, that Suzuki put these at 40 degrees, and that's what I've got here. Got it set at 40, and they're showing the degrees from the swing arm to the side of the shock here. So that's what I'm shooting for, and they're claiming in 1978 on the actually 1978 and a half, when they went to the aluminum swing arm, that the rear end had 8.3 inches of travel. And I've pretty much got that set up here where I think we'll be in pretty good shape. Measuring up into here where the fender will go. So I think we're pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bend a piece of tubing, and I'm actually going to come, let me get you up here just a little bit better. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come off of the point that we took the other tube out of here, and this has got to be kind of pulled out. We'll look at that from the back to make sure that we're pretty much parallel and straight up and down here. You have to remember, you're going to see this shock sticking out here away from the frame, and if you remember on the Suzukis, they did that. They actually, the side cover was formed. I remember riding the 400 I had, and it was wider. The one thing here that is different is the seat is pretty wide too. Even with that out here, the seat is still going to be well, out to the edge. So it's going to be wider unless I do something else with the seat. But this is all, you know, this is just all fun and experimentation. So we're gonna do what we can do here. Anyhow, I'm gonna come out of here and then kind of loop back behind here, and then there'll be a gusset that comes down where the bolt actually will go. The tube will come up here, and then I'm going to come into this side right here, I think. And then we've got this support that we took out here. It will come up and just straight up and come into that new tubing. And then we'll probably have one or maybe two come off. We'll just see, just to add some support. But the first thing I want to do, I was just kind of taking a wire here and kind of bending it. This is kind of what I've got in mind. And that's, you know, there's this frame being built different than the Suzuki. You really can't use a lot of what's on that frame. You've just got to get some ideas and that sort of thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this tube and get it tacked in there, and then we'll hook the shock up and everything, and then remove the brace over here. And I've already got one shock that I've taken the spring off of, and at that time we'll be able to see what, you know, if we're going to have clearance for our fender and all that stuff. So we'll make the tubing for this one, tack it, and try to hook things up so we can get a better idea of where we're at. So kind of the next thing I need to do is go over and bend the tubing. I've got some 120 wall DOM tubing here, and this is 3/4, same as this, and that's what we're going to run into here. I still don't have, I don't think I'd want to use 3/8 there. Suzuki didn't, they used the smaller tube. But I still don't have my die, and it may be towards the end of the month before I get it for the 3/8, or 7/8, I'm sorry. but I'm not real sure I'm going to need that yet. I will come off of this with 3/8, but it'll be just pretty much a straight up piece. So I guess I'll get over to the bender and we'll see if we can get this formed the way we want it. Okay, I want to start my bend at about where I've got the mark there. So we'll try to get this in here and get everything lined up. I'm going to set that white mark right on the edge of my die. Give this die a little shot of WD there. Okay, and we get our, I don't know what this is going to be, but I'll make a note of the angle so that I will have something to go by on the next one, and we'll just kind of try to watch our progress with our wire. Try not to exceed it. We can always come back and get a little bit more. All right, I think we're good. I just want to see how we're doing here. Got quite a ways to go yet. You can always bend more, but you can't take it out. Well, we're getting real close. Okay, we're going to look at that. Okay, this roughly goes here, and then it's coming in to just about where we want right here. We may have to tweak this just a little bit with a compound angle, but if we're lucky, it might just fit. I've got to bird mouth this end up here to get it to fit into the corner, and then we'll have to do the same on this end. I'll probably just go ahead and give this, well, I'll try to get this in, get the bird mouth in there, and then we'll cut it off here and get it set up for the other connection on here. Just some tweaking to get it in there now. You just want to start long. You can always cut more off. So that's about how it's going to go. Okay, here's our new piece. And the shock is going to go right here. That's where there'll be a gusset underneath here that will have the the nut in it, the insert, to screw this into, and it'll be shrouded just like it was on the Suzuki frame over here, and the bolt will go through it and into the nut on the back side there. And we've still got our our 40 degrees. So now I've got to tack this in, but I've also got to make the gusset with the insert and the little shroud that comes over. Let me show you that. Okay, you can see here this gusset starts way up here and comes down to about here. And you can see the threaded insert right there. That's welded in, it's captive. And then there's just this little shroud made from lighter gauge material. The bolt goes in from out here. Of course, the shock goes in there, and it just bolts right in, just like it does on here. So that's what we're, kind of our next step. And then we'll tack that piece in, and then we'll put the shock in there without the spring on it and collapse it and make sure that we've got enough room for our tire and our fender. And if we don't, then we'll have to move some stuff. Everything will be tacked in until we do that, and then we'll be able to figure out whether we're going down the right track or not. We'll, we'll have a piece come up from right here where we took the other piece out, and it will come up and support this. And we've got a lot of good support right here, so I really don't think we need to put anything else in here. If anything, maybe just a little short piece right here with the where the pressure is coming up. Maybe just a little block in there or a rod or something to transfer some of that pressure from here to here. But we do have to have this rod in. That will give it added support for that pushing this way. So it'll be pulling from here and here and here and here. I think will be good enough. Okay, before we do any tacking, I'm going to put this support back in. This was made just for this side. So this way we'll maintain the exact position of the seat area, the way it's supposed to be. And then all this will be fitted to that. Yeah, see, I'll have to take a little bit of meat out of that, probably right here, just so this slips in and then can be welded. So it's good to have purpose-made supports for anything that you remove. That way you can always come back to how it was before you, in this case, before we cut these pieces out. Although it is kind of a pain to work around, I pulled this one out to work this side. On the other one, we'll probably have the shock in place, so we'll be able to work the other side. But there again, it might be a good idea just to leave this one in and remove that one, and then do the same things we're doing here and fit it with all this the way it was. Okay guys, there you have it. I've made a little progress on this today. We've got our swing arm modified and installed, and we're on the way to getting the left side shock mount made. The next time you see this, probably I'll be working on this gusset, and we'll be getting the shock mounted up and probably all this stuff tacked and getting ready to do the other side. Anyhow, you got to see a little bending today and a whole lot of machine work. So, you know, I don't know where this thing's going. It's just a fun project, but it's just something that's cool to do. You know, I'm not riding, I'm not racing, I'm a cow trail guy, so I'm not worried about changing up something. I've got 3 more frames. If I screw something up terribly, I got a way to fix it. But I'm not planning on screwing anything up. Nothing anyway that I can't fix. So we'll keep pressing on with this, and then we'll eventually get to raising the height of the front end to compensate for what we've done to the back. And everything should be pretty much the same. It's just going to be taller, and our suspension travel will be greatly improved. We're not looking to change geometry, but you know we're going to, and we need to, because the geometry of a stock DT1 for trail riding sucks. So if we can make it better, and I know that this is probably going to make it better, I can't imagine that it wouldn't. You know, going from 4 inches of rear wheel travel to 8.3, and going from about 8 inches in the front to 10 to 12. It's got to be an improvement. It's just as long as we keep everything, the relationship the same, that's all we're after. So, okay, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.